Talmor, Shishin Magachi. Talmor is my home. My family have worked the land for generations. My gran says the island does not belong to us, but we belong to the island. And we must be ready, for a great evil is coming, and death follows with it.
Listen and subscribe to the latest season of Undertow, The Harrowing, a Storyglass production presented by Realm, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Contained herein are the heresies of Radolf Buntwine, erstwhile monk turned traveling medical investigator. Join me as I study the secrets of the divine plagues and uncover the blasphemous truth that ours is not a loving God, and we are not its favored children. The heresies of Radolf Buntwine, wherever podcasts are available.
And now, listen to this on the Toddcast podcast.
Simple Plan formed in 1999, and over the years, you've seen them claw their way into one of Canada's most successful pop-punk bands of all time. They've sold over 10 million albums worldwide. If you went to the Vans Warped Tour between 1999 and 2005, and then again in 2011, 2013, 15, you saw Simple Plan. It was just simply a staple of the band's early touring years. They played at the 2010 Winter Olympics here in Vancouver, the closing ceremonies there, and the 2016 NHL Winter Classic, and of course, continuing to tour and banging out successful albums. And when their drummer, Chuck, was a guest, we talked about Pearl Jam and that alt-rock movement, legalized marijuana, gave a couple book recommendations, talked career highlights. He shared a near-death story, the music that was being played in his house as a kid growing up. And Chuck talked about his first concert and the influence of the Warped Tour. Listen to this.
First real big rock show I saw was probably Pearl Jam in Montreal when their like first record came out. Like they just had a live out and Even Flow and like Not Jeremy yet, so it was still. They were still kind of bubbling under, I mean, they were big, but they were not like massive like this.
Massive.
So they played they played like this small arena back home, which was like maybe 4,000 or 5,000 people, and I got to go to that with my dad.
Cool.
And I loved it. I was like, oh my god, this is the best show ever. They were, I wouldn't say at their prime because who knows? I haven't seen them enough to really make that comment, but I felt like they were like, when you're a band and you're just starting to catch fire.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, you're just going out there with a vengeance. You got things to prove, and they were amazing.
Yeah.
And it was, like, life-changing. And then, like, and rather quickly, we got into, like, this, Rage Against the Machine and Tool and, like, all that scene of, like, that big Lollapalooza scene and that alternative sort of world that was kind of exploding at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then rather quickly I discovered Bad Religion on like just listening to some old radio shows, and there was like this alternative radio show that would play all these great records, and I discovered Bad Religion, and then from there
boom,
the floodgates opened, and it was Pennywise, it was Rancid, it was
then you're getting into the Warped Tour and all that and all those
exactly, and then I shifted towards that, and that became really like the love, like all the bands from that record, Epitaph, like Lagwagon, Strung Out, Tensa Pole, like all these awesome bands, and that really became the DNA of the band that we were playing at the time. We kind of like those were the main influences, and our style shifted towards that, and then in some ways it really influenced Simple Plan. It's still, even though we're a little bit more on the pop side as opposed to these bands, the whole approach to music has been shaped by all these bands,
Listen to This on the Toddcast podcast is brought to you by Tedco RV Supplies in Langley, an ICBC-approved repair shop. Visit them on Facebook and Twitter at Tedco RV Supplies.
Contained herein are the heresies of Radolf Buntwine, erstwhile monk turned traveling medical investigator. Join me as I uncover the blasphemous truth of a plague-ridden world, that ours is not a loving God, and we are not its favored children. The heresies of Radolf Buntwine, coming January 2nd, wherever podcasts are available.